So yes, this is slide 8 and 9. So we are continuing with our fiction unit. We talked about theme on Tuesday, and so now we're going to move on to dialogue and incident, which are specific to theme literature as well. So we're going to talk about the 3 things that dialogue and incident can do in a story to move the story along. So the first one that we're going to look at is incident. And an incident is any event happening in the story. Very straightforward. An incident is just any event that happens in the story. Dialogue is when 2 or more characters have a conversation in a piece of writing, and it typically includes quotation marks and speaker tags. Quotation marks is how, in speaker tags, like he said, she said, he asked, she yelled, whatever. That's how you're going to know that it is a dialogue, not an incident. Because how these questions will be set up is I will give you an excerpt from a story, and I will say, is this dialogue or incident, and which of the 3 that we're going to talk about here in just a second is this excerpt doing? So there are 3 things that a dialogue and incident can do in a story. The first one is propel action. And propelling action moves the story forward. Moves the story forward. So as a result of this event or this text, or this conversation, something else happens. Moves the story forward. The second one is reveals the character. Shows the reader an inside character trait. So something like kind, responsible, trustworthy, etc. Remember, these are inside personality traits. They're not physical traits, things that you can see. They are going to be things that you can't outwardly see. And then the third one is provokes a decision. This causes the character to make a decision. So as a result of this event or as a result of this conversation, the character has decided to do something. And in order to see these 3 things happening, we are going to look at a short story about a young man and another young man that are in quite the predicament. So, what I want you to do is I'm going to have you highlight in your ELA notes specific things. So, what you're going to highlight is the action, the decision, or the character trait in yellow, and you're going to highlight the incident or the dialogue in blue. And you'll see that I've already done this for you, so you're just going to highlight what I highlighted. So, our first bit of the story. Jeff had been left alone for 2 weeks, and he didn't know where his mom had gone. She'd never left him alone this long. He had eaten everything in the house and had become desperate for food. Jeff looked from side to side as he snuck around the corner inside the bakery. Giant stacks of loaves surrounded him on both sides. He was starving and hadn't eaten in days. The fresh baked bread smelled delicious, and he had to have a loaf. He stuffed a loaf inside his shirt. The bread was still hot and burned his chest a little bit, but he didn't care. He was ravenous. He cautiously walked out the door unnoticed, so he thought. So, the incident that takes place is that Jeff's mother has abandoned him. So that we're going to highlight in blue, which is that first sentence. So that's the incident that takes place. And as a result, it propels action in Jeff, and Jeff is forced to steal. And so that's the sentence that says he stuffed a loaf inside his shirt. that's the first one of propelling action. The next one is revealing character. Javier was a tall, lanky boy. His muscles were well developed and were straining as he kicked his speed up a notch for the last few blocks. He had to make the morning shift at the bakery to help his aunt. One of her employees was on maternity leave. Music blared in his ears, and he was breathing heavily. So again, we're looking for personality traits, character traits, inside traits. Tall and lanky are not personality traits. Muscles are not character traits. Breathing heavily, not a character trait. Okay? The incident taking place that you're going to highlight with he had to make the morning shift at the bakery is that Javier's aunt needs help at the bakery. That's the incident taking place. Javier's aunt needs help. And as a result, Javier, by helping his family, shows that he is supportive of his family. Okay, go ahead and go to slide 9. And we're looking at our final one, provokes a decision. Javier rounded the corner by the bakery and noticed Jeff sneaking outside with a bulge in his shirt. Jeff was pulling out the stolen loaf of bread and taking a huge mouthful when Javier ran right up on him. Javier startled Jeff, and Jeff swung around with a fiery glare and fists clenched. He threw a punch before Javier got the best of him. So the incident taking place in blue is that Javier startles Jeff. That's our incident. As a result, Jeff makes the decision, to lash out. So now we're going to move on to looking at dialogue and how dialogue can affect these three things as well. It's the same three: propels action, reveals character, provokes a decision. This time I want you to highlight the dialogue in blue, and then the incident that takes place, not the incident, the action, the character trait, or the decision that takes place as a result in yellow. It says, "Bring it on. I ain't scared of no mama's boy," Javier spat. Bread flew out of Jeff's mouth, and he threw a punch at Javier. So I want you to highlight the dialogue in blue. And the action that takes place as a result of Javier saying this to him is that Jeff punches Javier. Next, we have revealing an aspect of character. Javier ducked and skipped to the right, whacking Jeff just hard enough to throw off his balance to knock him to the cement. "You ain't got a chance, homie," Javier smiled. "I've been kickboxing since I could walk. My parents own the dojo on 12th Street. So I want you to highlight that dialogue in blue. And as a result, a character trait that we could put with Javier is that he is confident. And then the last one is provoke a decision. I don't care about no dojo. I know to bring more to a street fight than my fists or my feet. I got heat. What's your mommy teach you about that? Snapped Jeff as he reached behind his back and grabbed a handful of gravel and sand. Javier's eyes squinted and he began a series of moves that caused Jeff to slide backwards on the ground. Javier whispered, I am not afraid, Jeff, but do choose your next move wisely. So I want you to highlight all that dialogue in blue. And as a result of this being spoken, Javier makes the decision to buckle down for a fight. Okay, so what we're going to do now is add a slide to our ELA notes. Now my slide is going to be landscape and yours is going to be portrait. I can't change it to portrait because you can't see it. So it's just too small a font. So just bear with me that even though it looks a little bit different, it'll still be okay. So if you don't know how to add a slide, you are just going to come up here to the plus button, and you're just doing this after slide 9. I am going to do a specific layout, so when I add a slide, I'm going to come up here, and instead of just pushing the plus button, I'm going to push this little, it says new slide with layout with the upside down triangle, and I'm going to do the one where it says title and 2 columns, so that it looks like this. And I've just found that this one works the best. So, like I said earlier, I am going to be giving you, on all of your practices, assessments, whatever, I'm going to be giving you an excerpt from a story. You are going to have to determine if that excerpt is first dialogue or is it incident, and does it propel action, does it reveal an aspect of character, or does it provoke a decision? Okay? So, I am going to give you a sentence frame that you can use so that you fully answer the question in RASP format. So I want you to go ahead and title your slide like this so that when you do your practice tomorrow, you have this to reference. Yes.
For some reason, one slash button is doing that.
Oh, interesting.
Oh. I think I'm on the Spanish keyboard.
Oh, you can change that down at the bottom. I think you just click settings and then it's like US keyboard. I think you just open it at the bottom. Interesting. Well, that's the only slash we'll need, so. All right, here's your sentence frame. The blank in the story blank. This blank of blank tells the reader blank. And I'll make this bigger so that you can see it. I'm also going to tell you what's going to go in each of these blanks. And you're going to notice that I'm putting either or, okay? I'm never going to give you an excerpt that is dialogue and incident. I'm never going to give you an excerpt that propels action, reveals character, and provokes a decision. You have to pick one, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a text box for each of these little lines, and I'm going to fill in with a color. And, of course, I'm going to choose green. And in order to do this, you just go to this little paint bucket, and then you can pick whatever color you want. It doesn't matter. In that first blank, it is either going to be dialogue or incident. That's where you will first tell me, is it dialogue or is it incident? And once you put the examples in, it'll make a little bit more, the frame will make a little bit more sense. You can see how they overlap. The second text box is going to be where you pick one of the three. And this is going to be propels action, or reveals character, or provokes a decision. Again, you're just choosing one, not all three. Are we good? Okay, I don't hear any qualms. I'm going to add another text box for this next line. And this text box is just going to say same as number 1. So if you put dialogue in that first blank, you will repeat dialogue down here. If you said incident in that first blank, you will repeat incident down there. Our next blank is going to be where you either state the incident or cite the dialogue. And then the last blank is where you explain. So it's going to say explanation. So it will look like this. Okay, now I'm going to give you two examples, and I'm going to do this in a specific way. You can keep them both in this one text box if you want, but I'm going to make two. And how I'm going to do that is I am just going to lift this up and then just literally just make a copy of it and paste it so that it's down here. Make them just a wee bit bigger. And line them up, of course. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Did you guys read Charles? The story about the little boy that was lying about the bad kid in class? Okay, my first block said that they didn't read it, and I don't know. So, it says, so this is my example using that story. The incident in this story reveals character about Lori. This incident of Lori lying to his parents about Charles tells the reader that Lori is a liar because Charles doesn't exist. Nope, Charles wasn't a fish. Would have been a good plot point, but no. So I'm also going to highlight everywhere that my sentence frame overlaps with the green part, just so you can kind of see with the skeleton of the sentence frame. So I chose incident here, so I'm going to highlight that in green. Reveals character is also green, because that was my second blank. I repeated incident again, so I'm going to highlight that in green. And then I stated the incident here with Lori lying to his parents. That goes with state the incident. And then I need to highlight my explanation right here. Are you ready for the dialogue one? Or do you need a little bit more time? Okay, you're fine. All right, here's our dialogue example. We have the dialogue. Oh, let me make this bigger for you. The dialogue in the story provokes a decision. This dialogue, let me follow my sentence frame. This dialogue of today, Charles hit the teacher. Jackson, S22, which is the page number that it's on, tells the reader that because of all this bad behavior, Lori's mother, decides to attend the PTA meeting. And I'm going to do the same thing again where I highlight where it overlaps with my sentence frame. So for this one, I chose dialogue. And I also chose provokes a decision. I cited the dialogue here. And then I explained how that dialogue led to, I suppose, Lori's mother's decision to attend the PTA meeting.